though, people? It is first to the whistle. And first, I got to say congratulations to our brother, Matthew Broder, the guy who has sat in this seat during this time slot for many years, man. Just had the birth of his son. So shout out to him. He is going to be he's going to miss today, maybe next week. He thinks it's only 2 weeks. Look, man, as a father of 4, I'm letting you know, Broder, it might be a few more. But shout out to y'all, man, for being here. And I'm glad to be here with our guys, Willie B in the sound booth. What up, though, bro?
What's happening, man? Everything's smooth. Everything's cold setting, you know. Mind's clear, you know. Yeah. Good mood, you know. New beginnings. Motivated.
Definitely new beginnings. Hey, shout out to our brother, Broder.
Hey, Broder. Hey, man. Congratulations to Jared Broder Jr. Congratulations, man. I appreciate that, man. Wish you nothing but blessings in your first father, your first kid and first fatherhood. Make the most of it and make a blessing about it, because there's nothing but a blessing out of this world.
Yeah, man. I'm so happy for our brother, man. It's interesting as we get this format just getting started. It was when I had my last kid that we actually got Woo-Koo started the day after. But what up, though, to the fast rising extraordinaire in the TD booth. Some people call him Jeff. Some people call him El Jefe. As Braylon calls him, what up, though, El Jeffrey?
What's good with y'all, man? We ready to get it started on Super Bowl Sunday, the Lions edition.
Let's go.
Man. All right, the Lions are not in the Super Bowl. We can act like it.
Listen, we're gonna talk
hope.
This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to talk about what they need to do to get there, because this was a year in which I always thought if there was gonna be a step back for the Detroit Lions, I thought it was just gonna be, hey, maybe they flame out in the playoffs like we saw last year. There was nothing in my mind that could have prepared me for them missing the playoffs. And not just that, we were kings of the North, but they finished last in the playoffs, man. But we're gonna get there. Just briefly, I need to be able to get you guys' thoughts on Super Bowl, on the big game going on today between the 14-3 Seattle Seahawks and the 14-3 New England Patriots today at 6:30, man. So it's our Super Bowl edition of First to the Whistle. And chat family, again, as always, you guys are the most important part of this thing, so go ahead and smash that like button. But you know what, Jeff? I got to come over to you first, man. Just your first initial thoughts on the Super Bowl matchup. It seems improbable in terms of the two quarterbacks that are here and the two teams that are here. And they've done it, you know what, with some decent defense, I would say, from the Patriots. So I got good defense. It's shaped up to be really good towards the end of the season. And with Seattle, they've been nasty all year, and it just got that much better. You got these two defenses that are going to be chasing around some quarterbacks who may be prone to make some mistakes, but to this point have shown to be super.
I mean, you got Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl before Jared Goff. I mean, like this is crazy. You know what I mean? This is crazy. All right, but I'm devastated. All right, if I'm to be true, I'm devastated. Like, I don't want to see the Patriots back in the Super Bowl before the Lions, and now you get to see they're back in the Super Bowl before the Lions. Like, this hurts. All right, my best friend's a Patriots fan. And he's been just letting me have it just for the whole playoffs. And then they reach the Super Bowl. And now he's on another level. Because he's like, oh, you know, they got back to the Super Bowl and did a whole rebuild. And the Lions still ain't got there. And I'm devastated. But listen, this Super Bowl matchup, I think it comes down to defense. When you look at the Seahawks defense, they are nasty. As long as their rookie safety, Amon-Ra, can be healthy, I feel like this defense will dictate how the game goes. You have to remember that Drake May is still a relatively, young quarterback in terms of he hasn't had that many starts under his belt in the NFL. For most of his rookie season, he was injured. So this is still, a kid that, even though he's played like a superstar and he's played at the MVP level, he still could be prone to make some rookie mistakes. And I feel like that's what the Seahawks are going to try to capitalize on, is how can they make him uncomfortable, because they want him to force mistakes. And against this opportunistic defense in the Seattle Seahawks, which can force turnovers, I feel like that is their best bet to go and win the Super Bowl today, and that's what I'll be rocking with, Seahawks.
And honestly, we have limited history and limited time. with a Drake May. But with Sam Darnold, we've seen that there is a recipe. And the Detroit Lions know how to push that button to a certain degree with a Sam Darnold. We've seen other teams be able to do it too. And we've heard some of the jokes as it relates to not Drake May, but Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. Shout out to our guy, Pistons DJ, High Def Steph as well, who when we were going up against them for the division, when they probably got to 13, 14 wins, he said it. Sam Darnold, we're going to make him turn back into a pumpkin. And you know what? Part of the secret to that success, as much as we want to think with Drake May, maybe getting pressure on him will work with Sam Darnold, it was those safeties of the Detroit Lions, those erasers. Because Sam Darnold, he didn't necessarily have a bad game except for the fact that you got those equalizers in Kerby Josephs back there. You got those equalizers in Brian Branch back there who it's to be seen the type of impact or effect they're going to have for the Detroit Lions on the road ahead for them trying to get back to not just Super Bowl contention, but get back to playoff contention and becoming kings of the North again. But Willie B, before we get into how the Lions can become Super Bowl worthy again, talk to me today about this game, man. Like I'm and everybody hold your Super Bowl picks to the end of the show, obviously here on the show. If you're in the chat, you can put it there, but we're definitely going to go back to those at the end of the chat and ask you guys again. But at the end of the show and ask you guys again. But Willie B, what up, though?
I think, man, let me put it this way. This Super Bowl is unexpected. Oh, wait, unexpected. To the top, you got Seahawks, and you got the Patriots back to Super Bowl. Wow, Bill Belichick, wow, Tom Brady. Just, you know, that's pretty interesting how it goes down. As for the Lions, they need to cut the fucking check. Cut the check. Cut the check.
Crash out Willie already.
Brad Holmes, cut the check.
10 minutes into the show.
We need Max Crosby, okay? We need Max Crosby back home, East Michigan. I went to East Michigan while Max Crosby was a sophomore.
Hey, I took some classes there too, bro.
Yep.
About a year now.
Yeah, I was a classmate, but I see him hanging in the hallways in the Prayer Harrell building. Yes, I say that clearly. But overall, you know, bring him back to the line. He want to go back home. Great. Him and Aiden Hutchinson on a defensive line, edge rusher. We need that. And Kerby Joseph and the safety issue, that torn Achilles is not like an ACL injury. You're not gonna be the same out there. You gotta find a way to reinvent yourself after coming through an Achilles tear injury, because that's a very sensitive injury for all sports injuries right now. So we gotta make some solid picks in the off line. Somebody need to project. We need an offensive line.
Yeah.
We need an offensive line to project Jared Goff all the time, because Jared Goff is our savior.
Talk to us.
Jared Goff's our savior.
Talk to us, Willie.
Lord Goff needs 8 disciples. He needs 8 disciples. Sorry, with Bill on that one. Jared Goff needs a deep offensive line. Penei Sewell can't protect him all the time, so we need more.
And it's, you know what? You mentioned Aiden Hutchinson, you mentioned Penei Sewell, and obviously Jared Goff, and it's interesting in contrast to the NFL honors that just went on, where I do believe that our guy, Penei Sewell, got snubbed, but in a year where you don't make the playoffs, you don't win your division, you're not really going to cry that loud about it. But I do agree with you as it relates to, if there was one thing that I could fix on this team right now, be in the trenches, it would be the offensive line, because we understand how much that's impacted, and it was not fun looking at both David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs take a step back. It would be different if it was just one of those running backs. But to see that entire game, not just running between the tackles, but also the play action, that to me was terrifying. Like, even more so than if they, you know, we hear the jokes. Oh, Jared Goff can't push the ball down the field. But we see the Lions offense have success despite that. Why? Because they're able to get the ball up the seams to the tight ends. They're able to always hit Amon-Ra to move the chains. They were always able, at least once or twice, to get one to pop the J-Mo. But what was the superpower? It was a play action.
Yeah.
Even David Montgomery found a renaissance here, revitalization. His best season as a pro. The catching the ball here before last year it was awesome. And when you talk about Jahmyr Gibbs and how quickly he got to 1,000 total yards on the season a couple years ago, it was due to that play action ability, not catching it. But I think he was out of wide receivers and running backs, he was, I believe, your 4th highest pass catcher 2 years ago. And if you look at last season, it fell off a cliff. And that's where sometimes we're talking about this thing in the scope of a Super Bowl. That's where I'm like, yo, they got to get it back. If Ben Johnson, if this was all the Ben Johnson thing and all of a sudden, Sonic has lost all his rings, then we're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, we got to have solidarity with the team. Don't put an offensive coordinator who is now the Bears head coach. Okay, he had a great successful season with Chicago Bears to reinvent quarterbacks, like a Caleb Wilson. But overall, let's break out the Ben Johnson stereotype and make sure that this is the same system that the Lions produce. Then we got to modify today's game into the present game. Means I need to change my game. I need to change what really works. Dan Campbell did a great job, reinvented the whole Detroit sports system thoroughly. Yeah. Now he got to adapt what's today's game and find a way to make it still their identity grit, but modify with their own system when it comes to running plays, throwing plays, mix it up. Action, you can't be stationary all the time. You gotta find your niche and utilize it, and put trust in the coaching. They gotta earn it.
Yeah, I see Ross in the chat. He got the number 2 crown today. He says that's the problem. Goff doesn't just need an O-line; he needs it to be elite. And that's why I wonder, because last year, the year before, was it elite? They had injuries the year before.
Injuries.
And it wasn't elite. It was still one of the best units in the league. But as the year went on, we realized, this isn't the offensive line we thought it to be. But he still was able to go out there and put up top 5 MVP numbers. That is a fact. He was at NFL Honors 2 years ago as the number 5 quarterback in MVP. I think it was just the tip of a cap for the great season he had, too. Because I see my man Jeff over there. He's squirming as I'm talking about this. But last year, you saw something completely different. Is that the case for you, Jeff? Do you think this is a notion where this thing can get too expensive simply because you need it to be elite? So who we know Brad to be, maybe some of these other players could be players that could be good in time. Like J-Mo got the opportunity, right, to honestly be bad, make mistakes, and learn. And now we're sitting here looking at a guy who's like, yo, this guy is legitimately going to be in the future challenging for All-Pro, challenging for top 5 and top 10 wide receivers. I think he's already top 10 wide receiver, top 5 wide receivers in the league.
Top 10 in yards.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But he got that opportunity because how stacked were they on offense? Because they were doing things right on within the wide receiver room, within your pass catchers. Now you go to some of these other areas where we realized I think they waited too long to bolster the offensive line. So then when you went to go get those younger guys, now you're throwing them in the fire. J-Mo didn't get thrown into the fire. These other guys did. Tate didn't. I get it. Hey, well, he's drafted to this, that, and the other.
Montgomery.
Yeah, but when you're losing that many players that were that crucial to your team and you let Zeitler walk, I think that's a little too much to think, you know what, we could patch this thing together and we'll go. Well, what if Penei Sewell stubs his big toe? Oops, he was playing injured, wasn't he, this year? Those are the types of things I'm talking about. It's an interesting thing, but Jeff, I see you over there, man. Does it have to be elite, or do you think that there's a way that they can get this thing to serviceability and get some of the production we've seen out of this offense in the past?
When you were getting that type of production in the past, you were under Ben Johnson. That's one of the most elite offensive minds that football has seen.
Very elite.
So he was able to scheme ways for this offensive line, him and Hank Fraley working together. They were able to scheme things where they were taking away what defenses were trying to do to pressure Jared Goff. They would take that away. The big thing is you had Frank Ragnow. He might have been beat up.
Yeah.
He might have missed a couple games, but you had him. And that made a humongous difference because we look at Jared Goff. He does solid when the pressure is coming from the edge. He can step up. He can deliver a good pass.
Step up, kind of dart to his right.
If that pressure is coming from the middle, that is when things begin to just go into a disarray. That's when he begins to just completely shut down. That's when you see Jared Goff make the horrible passes. I mean, the passes that are, 5 yards behind his receiver. And we always talk about, he leads his receivers to the yak yards. But if he's getting pressure up the middle, that's bad news. That's bad news for this Lions team. That's bad news for Jared Goff. Because I'll tell you right now, Jared Goff is not your savior.
He's not your savior. That's true.
He's not your savior. Hey, bro, you're taking shots at people right now. You're at this
network. Listen, you, as an organization, you have to know Jared Goff does have limitations. Yeah. He is not when you look at the elite quarterbacks in the league, he has limitations. So you have to build.
They all do.
But
that's why some of these guys don't have Super Bowls yet.
But you have to build a team around him. If you're going to stick with him as your quarterback, you have to make sure this offensive line is elite.
But isn't that what they all do, though?
But, Kool Aid, the one thing we haven't seen this team do, we have not seen this team have a dominant defense. It has been years since we have seen the Lions have a dominant defense. I want this Lions defense to be dominant.
Like Dominique Sue.
They have all these players. Whether or not they're here, when they get hurt, these players are in the building. So whether or not we need to do a better research job at getting players that are not going to get hurt as often, such as Ennis Rakestraw, such as Terrion, even though I love Terrion.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
He gets hurt a lot. So, but we just have to see if Jared Goff is not the savior of Detroit sports. He's not. He's not the savior of Detroit Lions football.
The problem is this. He's going to have to be.
But no, he doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be.
That is the number
It starts with your quarterback.
Jeff,
it does.
In all of sports,
and then, so when we get this elite team around him and he's still making mistakes, then what can we say?
Then you got to pass. That's the whole point. Once the table is set for you and you prove that you can't have real food and you need the puree, get from my adult table. The problem is, it's not like they inherited Jared Goff. They selected Jared Goff. And that's one of the issues. That's the thing.
No, I think they selected those first-round picks.
No. The language that they used, and Brad Holmes, who was in the room with Jared Goff, he was over there across the pond with Jared, across the country with them. Yeah. You got to think about that. And they put this on wax. And honestly, they haven't been wrong. They haven't been wrong to this point. They stated, you get the offensive line. We believe that Jared Goff can make any throw we'd ask him to.
But you had it.
He's done it.
But you had it.
Yeah,
they've done. No,
you had it when it was elite. You had it when it was good.
Has waned. That's where we've seen the worst of not just Jared Goff, who didn't have a horrible season this year. Who had the horrible season this year? It was the running backs. That's what we flew about. Yeah. And did not Jared Goff lose some of his talent this year? Some of his pass catching talent. He did. Sam Laporta was having a hell of a first half of the season. Yes, Sam Laporta was their first quarters after like the first 2 or 3 games. When the offense started getting going, it was Sam Laporta who was catching those first quarter first downs and first quarter touchdowns. He lost him. He's a big piece.
You're right. But you know what?
Yeah.
You know what Brad Holmes did?
Trade him.
You said he traded 2 third-round picks to go and get Isaac Tesla.
Yeah? He traded him.
So for that, he has pass catching all around him.
You know what?
I can't blame it on the pass catching because you spent capital to go up there and get a guy.
Yeah, and
I don't want to hear anything about he didn't have the pass catchers. That's why he had a little bit of a dip, or that's why this Lions team. No. He had Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had Jamison Williams. He had Gibbs out the backfield. He had a rookie in Isaac Tesla who was majority of the time open.
He did have an increase in drops this season. On first down.
There was drops.
You look at the third down drops and you look at the third down miscues.
No, there was drops.
It wasn't like Jared Goff is going to look off Amon-Ra, look off J-Mo, and throw it to Isaac Tesla. That was never going to happen. And you know what? The play call was never going to be that. Not even today.
But see,
it was never going to be that. So I can't even entertain that.
Here's my thing, Kool Aid. Is when the Lions struggle making big plays. They do. And Isaac Tesla is a big play threat. Yes, when I see Isaac Tesla streaking down the sideline where the safety is 20 yards the other way and he's sitting there wide open on the sideline.
There might have been a miss or two
Why
this
does
year.
Jared Goff not throw that ball? It's because Jared Goff is scared to throw that ball. He doesn't think his arm is good enough to get it there.
No,
that's the reality. That's the reality.
Bring it back here, Jeff. Listen, man, look. When we have actual stats where we can look up and see that Jared Goff is actually one of your better quarterbacks at putting the ball in the air and making the connection, that's where that whole argument falls apart. We've seen him go outdoors and outduel other people's favorite quarterbacks, like Jordan Love, like Justin Herbert. We've seen this already. Like Caleb Williams even. We've seen this stuff. I'm not so entertaining that it's just like, come on. He went out there on the West Coast and said, hey, Justin Herbert, I'm from here.
Caleb Williams isn't
down the field.
Caleb Williams is not a great quarterback.
82-yard touchdown that J-Mo caught, right? How many yards was that ball in the air? It was like 87-yard touchdown, 62 yards in the air. But I was told, and that was back.
So why does he hesitate to throw it?
Well, wait, I saw him do that more when he was with Ben Johnson, though. I think that when you have a comfortability with your system and all your pass catchers across the board are relatively healthy and no one's really dropping passes, I believe that makes a huge difference, especially when you can run a play action. Every time Jared Goff stepped back to after he called hike underneath Ben Johnson, we didn't know where the ball was going. But after Ben Johnson, we were like, don't throw to the tight ends because who's healthy? Do we really want to run a play action? Do we have the time? I know that for the first half of the season, we were targeting Amon-Ra, but he's been having some drops on third downs. The reliability factor just seemed to go out the window, bro, while you have even less time to pass. And that's where it's like, look, for me personally, I level with you on this. If I could get a better quarterback in here, I would get a better quarterback in here ASAP. I don't want to waste any aspect of a Super Bowl window. The problem is I think the Lions are up against what they can have. And because I see here, Ray Floyd might have said one of the most profound things, and I never even thought about it like this. Jared Goff is the white Dak Prescott.
I seen that.
That's like right now. I wouldn't have said this before last season.
I can't agree with that because of the fact that, okay, let's be real, okay? Like, Dak has put his body on the line. Like, he's scrambled and, and really went after it. And exactly. We don't see that type of mobility.
Yes or no?
You said what?
He's had less success in his career than Jared Goff.
Of course. But then he plays, hey, you know what? If you play for the Cowboys, that's what's going to happen. But
he stays there. That's on him.
But listen,
Jared Goff accepted Detroit. He brought his security to Birmingham and everything.
But listen, Dak Prescott, for what he is, he is a mobile quarterback. So he's able to get out of the pocket, break those sacks, extend plays. Those are things that you just don't see Jared Goff doing. So I see it maybe, with the blundering moments. I do see that sometimes from both of them. But other than that, I think Jared Goff is truly in a class of his own. In today's NFL, Jared Goff is in a class of his own because every other quarterback can move a little bit.
The reason why it gets tired is because we know this. He was hand selected by your GM. He is loved like a son by your head coach.
Which I just can't understand.
The issue. And they paid this man. If they didn't like him, they might have given him the 49, 47 or something like that. They paid this man, bro. They gave him the bread. As Braylon would say, they gave him the chickens.
That breaks my heart.
They gave him the pepper, the lettuce, the cheddar.
Breaks my heart,
that's the issue here. So now that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about reaching the Super Bowl, Jared Goff becomes the least of the conversation because he's not going nowhere.
He's not.
That's why I'm saying, we know offensive line.
I never said he was going anywhere because I know we're stuck with him. But if you want to win Super Bowl with Jared Goff, you are going to have to make sure that everything else around him is elite.
Not quite. They got very, very close with a subpar, with an okay defense. A defense that between the 20s, it couldn't stop a nosebleed, bro. But when you got into the red zone, it got elite because of those safeties. Now, I agree with you. I don't think that he's had a defense as good as some of the best ones Stafford had here with the Lions. And I believe if you had that, it does help this Detroit Lions team out a lot. We see teams go out there and you can ride on defense, especially as a Detroit team. That just plays a whole lot better in your favor. But when I do look at the Lions and you want to talk about this thing from an offensive standpoint, we know that offensive line, which we spent a lot of time on last week, is something that we got to get together. And if people have, suggestions, chat family, if you got people that you think the Lions should look at free agency-wise, draft-wise, or even just I'm going to go run that wise in the trade market, which could be difficult with offensive linemen, put that in the chat, man.
Put it in the chat. We're gonna call out the names and we're gonna
a little bit later
go over them all.
Yep. But put them in the chat now because last week was offensive line. This week we switched to the defense a little bit, and I was going back and forth. Do we start in the trenches because we hear edge so much? But bro, I'm sitting here looking in the chat. Donkey Kong 43. TA is a bust. T Papa. TA was only injured this year. Ross. Arnold is not a man-on-man cornerback. He is just not fast enough. And I'm wondering now, with the uncertainty with the two cornerbacks that we drafted in Ennis Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold, the question there is there any way that we can depend on them? And then when you go, do we have time to wait on if we can figure them out? Do we have time to wait for them to figure out the NFL game? And then with the safeties,
Kool Aid,
because this is a twofold question. With the safeties, where are we at? Can we depend on Kerby Joseph and Brian Branch to still be those difference makers coming off of some injuries.
No.
You just can't. You can't wait and see because
then we got a problem because that's 4 players. That's supposed to be right now. Those are supposed to be your starters right now. Think about that.
Listen, we know Brian Branch is not going to be back for a while. He's not going to be back until if he does come back, he's not going to be back until the second half of the season, and that's going to be later toward almost reaching the playoffs. So we know that we're expecting not to have him for a while. You need a replacement for him. Whether you get that in the free agency, whether you get that in the draft, you got to get a replacement. You got to get someone in there that can contribute on this team and not just be a nobody, not just somebody that just got plucked off of someone else's practice squad. It can't be that. You need players out here. So spend the money or use the capital to get players in here.
It's like my dad said, spend the money, save the ass.
and Kerby Joseph has been dealing with, obviously a knee injury. I feel as if the knee injury for Kerby, I feel like that will be cleaned up and he'll be ready to go come training camp. But still, how will he look? We don't know. But I feel like
just real quick, because I'll just to piggyback on that, because he could be really good, but that could still fall short of the league's best ball hawk we've seen since he entered the league.
But that's the thing. You know what helps that, Kool Aid?
Talk to me.
You got to change your defensive system. You need to change your defensive scheme. We can see where this is going. We can see where this is going. Do it?
That's the question there.
Under Aaron Glenn, it's man defense. Listen, that is wearing your defense down. Asking your defense to play man, to cover, it's wearing them down. This is why we're seeing so many injuries. Because they're tired. They're exhausted. When your body is exhausted and tired, that is when injuries happen. Sure. You need to be able to rotate these guys, keep them fresh. But you can't do that because you play a man system. You play a man system that allows, that needs you to have, obviously the guys who can cover on man. You have to get out of that. We seen Shep play zone one game. And it looked like the best game they had all season against the Bears. The last one, they played zone.
Yeah,
because you don't have a choice when you have that lackluster talent. You cannot just expect everyone to just go man up on man against the best receivers in the NFL. Every single team has a great receiver. You can't do that anymore.
I think that they might have caught the Bears off guard, and you got to think when these teams are planning, and a guy like Ben Johnson's little vindictive self. You got to believe he was not prepared for that, and it probably got them too late when they figured it out. Can Kelvin Shepherd go into next year and be able to better balance these things? These are some of the things I liked Kelvin Shepherd when he was the linebackers coach and was able to come in as a specialist and get some stunts. His linebacker room looked like there were just some absolute dogs, and you talk about the health and just how good those linebackers are. That helps out those safeties. Anzalone and Jack Campbell were flying around that field, especially for the year before last year. They were absolutely flying around the field. I know Anzalone a little step back. Jack Campbell this year a big step forward, and I expect him to continue to take some steps forward, man. But when he was in that role, it was like, okay, as a specialist, he got it down pat. Now, I do believe he's going to be a good defensive coordinator, and I think this is probably the reason why Dan Campbell went and said, you know what? Let me get a little bit of double shot of espresso, man, in my offensive room, because I might have to go over here and help out Kelvin Shepherd. Because where's his help? Where's his support? Aaron Glenn was stacked, bro.
Yep.
When you look at that room that he had defensively and the positional coaches, he was stacked.
Look at these players that left.
Exactly. Was like worth two.
Exactly. And obviously good for him that he's recovered now and back with the Patriots today. But he went on to be a defensive coordinator. So it's like, what I'm saying, like, I get it, like, he might not have the help around him, but I believe that Shep is smart enough and that he's played in this league that he knows
as an overall manager, coach.
I can't expect these guys to go out here and play man defense and just cover the most elite receivers every single game, because every single game you have an elite receiver. You can't ask these guys to do that, especially when you're banged up. You're bringing in practice squad players. Like, that doesn't work. Not all these guys. There's a reason why they're on the practice squad, and majority of it is probably because they can't cover man.
You can sneak into the playoffs.
You can get by.
Get a division
but do you want to win a Super Bowl? Do you want to win a Super Bowl? That's what the discussion is.
I agree.
Because we look at the Patriots, they have 2 shutdown corners. We let one of those guys walk out this building.
We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get there.
We look at the Seahawks. What do they have? They have shutdown corners. The Lions do not have that.
No. Bro, they've invested in their defense for years, for so long
we
knew. If they didn't make the playoffs, we knew they can come in here and shut us down. Yeah. And they came in here and they went toe-to-toe with us, and they walked out wearing our blue ski masks, man. And so much so that they could go and get a Jared Goff-like quarterback
get to the
Super Bowl.
Look at the players that they got. Like Kerby Joseph and Brian Branch, that was ours. Like, those were the guys for us.
We didn't know how good we had it.
That's truly
We didn't know how good we had it.
We truly felt like we were safe in their hands. But as you see, the injuries start to creep up. Now you got these 2 guys, your elite safety duo, your tandem.
It's not there.
Both of these guys had devastating injuries, not just minor injuries like TA. Like, TA had a concussion. He had, the shoulder. Like, that's minor surgeries. That's, he can get back.
Secondary room,
but we're talking about lower extremity injuries. Those are the most extreme injuries in football.
How did they get this thing to Super Bowl already? They got one offseason to fix what? 4 positions?
So many positions need their attention, and Kool Aid. It goes down to me is Brad Holmes. He was drafting for development. We need players that can step in the building and play right now. I see other teams drafting players that can play right now. It doesn't matter whether or not, Giovanni Manu can turn out to be a good, tackle in the league. It's taken him 4 years if that's the case? We don't have 4 years to wait for Giovanni Manu to be a great tackle. Like, we just don't. Or even a backup. Like, you got him in the 3rd round. That is where you found Kerby Joseph.
Because it's the same
thing. You found Kerby Joseph in the 3rd round.
Right? It's the same thing we talking about with the Pistons. When the Pistons, and correct me if I'm wrong here, they're no longer in that, hey, your next step is just win a playoff series and we'll be happy. Yay.
Nope, you change expectations. You changed it.
And now you have to make moves. You have to make the same type of moves that are reticent to that. I think if their next step was just win a playoff series, part of me feels like Jaden Ivey might still be here. But if you are legitimately the number 1 team still through 60% of the season, then your expectation now is you have to go out there and contend. Right now, you are one of those teams that people are saying could represent not just in your own conference championship, but in the league championship. And when you're the Lions and your expectation is Super Bowl, you have to make Super Bowl level moves. Look, it was all fine and dandy when they were climbing to the top and they were catching people off guard. And then what they say, hey, look, we know now that we're the hunted. We know we're no longer the hunters. We understand how to deal with that. But what we're seeing right now is not that I'm not going to say that they can't deal with it. But we've seen that they definitely got hit in their face. And they're sitting here right now like, whoa, what the frick was that? Because that we're good to me was, nah, bro, I know what I'm doing. I've done this I've been there before. And then all of a sudden, smack, and it happens to the best of us.
You know what it was, Kool Aid? It was that time that Will Smith walked on stage and smacked Chris Rock. The Lions just got smacked just like that. Yeah. And now we are waiting.
And Chris Rock still
now we are waiting.
Still rich, right? He's still Chris Rock.
Yep, but we're waiting.
Did get smacked.
We're waiting for a response. This right here is the Lions' response. They need to go out and get players that can play now, that are going to be beneficial to this team now, because your Super Bowl window is now. When we look at the Pistons, it's a little bit different because basketball and football is different. In basketball, one player can change the whole game.
Yeah,
one player can get hot and can completely destroy your game. But in football, you need to have multiple players. You have to have it takes unison. It takes teamwork in order to get to
right
it.
now.
It's not one player does not dogs. One player does not overcome the deficiencies of everything else. When we see Josh Allen try to do that, what happened? he's getting injured, he's putting the ball in harm's way because you don't have the talent around him. It's the same thing with the Lions. You have to put the talent around Jared Goff. If you want to win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, you have to put the talent around him. This defense needs more talent. Not just, practice squad players from someone else's team that they discarded and thrown away.
And I
get it. Maybe they step up and play good for a game.
Yep.
But that was what happened this year. They stepped up and played good for a game, and then next game they got absolutely destroyed. So we can't have that anymore. We have to have depth. We have to have players that can rotate, because you want your secondary to rotate, to keep things fresh, so that they're not tired, exhausted, because they are out there covering receivers, running. Like when you see Amon-Ra go out for a play, like, that's because he's exhausted. He's tired. He needs a quick breather, and then he can get back in. Like when you see J-Mo go 50 yards down the field on a deep ball, the next play he's coming out.
Yeah.
Terrion, he's still in there. He just covered 50 yards. Like that is that is exhausting. But you don't have a better option, so these players are being kept in there, and they're getting burnt, and they're asked to do too much.
You know what?
Simplify it. Simplify
what Jeff's trying to say,
and allow them to create chaos.
What up, though? Crash out.
What Jeff tried to say is tell Brad Holmes to strap your nuts and cut the check.
CTC.
I mean,
you want him on that Tom Gores now? Where Tom Gores is with the Pistons right now? I just, hey, you know what? Monty, go away. Trajan, you run the show. Here's the check, my brother. I'm going to just kind of back out the way now. I'm kind of sorry if I messed some things up here. And then y'all do y'all thing, and then look what happened. And I'm not saying that the Lions haven't done that to this point, because I think with the Lions, I believe that their progress and their plan was undercut by all of the injuries. I don't think that they were expecting all of these injuries, because
you can't expect
it took
all
away
these
the
injuries.
development of some of these young players you were hoping could get the time. Because before, Brad Holmes would talk like this: hey, sometimes we draft players because of needs that you guys don't see today that will arise in the future. So if you're saying that they're going to meet needs in the future, then I understand that, trying to bridge the gap, trying to make sure you're building for now and for then. But when you have too many injuries, when you don't know if players are going to retire or not, if you don't know if guys are going to make it through the season or not, you got guys that are coming back off of the retirement scrap heap, and then they have to go right back to it. When that's what you're trying to do during a Super Bowl season, you cannot rely on these young players. And that's where the Zeitler thing, I get it. Some people say they want to be near home and family. Yeah, I would too if it wasn't Super Bowl at my cost. If you were going to pay me probably what I'm looking for, I'm sure there was a number. And that's where, when you're looking at Brad Holmes and Cole, they probably looked and said, you know what? No, we think we got enough to get by here. We're going to go into this draft and draft a dog.
You know what they
blah,
said.
blah, 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 blah.
You know what they said, Kool Aid.
They
Go
said
ahead and say
we're
it. What they say?
They said we're good.
Oh, we're good.
And that's.
But you know what? To their point,
They can't do that again, though.
To their point, with the guard spot, it's not that the guard was the issue for us. It was the fact that we didn't have a center to take control, to call out, because you have these two young players next to you, on the guard positions. Like, you need a good communicator. You need a center that knows what is going on, that can see the blitz, can see all these things, that can point those out. That was Frank. Frank did that. They don't have that anymore. So yeah, the whole interior is going to struggle now. Not only because these guys are young and inexperienced, but you don't have a center that is, making the right calls, giving the right call outs, and obviously, you're taking a step back as a blocker with Graham as too. And it's nothing bad with Graham. Graham was good for this team as a guard, but maybe you've asked him to do too much too. And this is a time where I want the Lions to go out and spend money on a legit center, because you need a veteran center to come into this team right away and be good. You don't have time for a rookie to develop.
If you go into, Dairy Queen with the family and everything, you could probably just take the little house dog. It could be the Chihuahua, whatever. But when you're going to collect the rent, you probably need a little bit bigger dog, a little bit bigger prize, a little bit bigger dog, a little bit bigger risks. And that's where I'm like, look, you guys are playing for the Super Bowl. You're not trying to win your division. You're not trying to win your first playoff games. You've done that already. You won 2 of them in 1 year. Soon as you got sauced up by the Commanders, that's where I believe things should have went into hyperdrive as it relates. Okay, we had this rhythm where we were able to ebb and flow this thing with the drafts, picking up these practice squad players. You know what I mean? Picking up those types of guys, but you're not there no more. Because this is what
you should have realized that didn't work.
Yeah, but no, it did for a while. But when you lose that many players, that's where it becomes an issue. They didn't just lose 22 players. They got injuries to some of their best players, and they're still dealing with it now. And then this is where, I see Steve O'Baby in the chat. He says, Hefe, nobody's scared of the Lions anymore. And that's the thing.
Lions
People
offense.
used to cry about the Lions. Their offensive line used to be Grizzlies. And that offensive line used to be dogs, man. And is it that anymore?
And Steve-O, how you get back to that is you have to have some animals. You gotta get some real people movers on the offensive line. We couldn't create holes for Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery to run through. Like, that's an issue. Especially when you got Jared Goff at quarterback. You want to be able to lean on your run game to create offense. And a lot of what the Lions do is they use their run game to set up their pass plays. So you don't have the run game working now. Teams are expecting you to pass, and they're gonna obviously, edge rushers are gonna pin back their ears. They're gonna go after Jared Goff. They're gonna get pressure on him, and when Jared Goff gets pressure on him, that's when he begins to kind of show his limitations. So this Lions team needs to address their offensive line, and it's primarily starting with that center position. But we also know, hey, Taylor Decker might not be back. So that is a position that you got to fill as well.
Yeah,
you're reaching this point. You're reaching this point. You're reaching this point because you had that window where you had Frank, you had Taylor Decker. They were still playing at an elite level. And now you see that the injuries have caught up to them to the point to where now it's, they're thinking of retirement, because obviously both family men who want to be able to be around for their children and to be able to play with their children in the backyard, play catch, things like that. Well, if these injuries keep occurring, that's something that's going to limit them from doing that. So then it's beyond bigger than just football at that point. And you had that window, but you just let it close by getting lackluster talent in the building and getting guys that you thought would develop in 2-3 years when you need them to play now. You need these guys to step in now and contribute if you want to go out and win a Super Bowl. That is what winning football is. The Seahawks, they drafted their safety, Amon-Ra, and he literally plays all over the field. And he has been amazing for that defense. And he's a part of the reason why the Seahawks have been so good and why they are in the playoffs and why they are in the Super Bowl and have a chance to win a Super Bowl is because he was ready to go now. Not 2 years from now, not 3 years from now. He was ready to go now. And that's what the Lions need to shift their focus on. Getting guys in here that are ready to go now. But as far as it comes to that, the offensive line.
How did it work when they went out there and they said, look, we're getting a Zeitler and we're going to get a Carlton Davis. They look like a professional team on both sides. Now, and we understood the way that this defense goes, it's going to be a bend but don't break. And boy, did they not break. That's what I loved about it is I knew. Everybody who was worried about, oh, man, they can't stop anybody. All these wide receivers getting all these numbers on us. There was a stretch where it was like you knew every wide receiver, top wide receiver came in, and every mid wide receiver was going to get 100. But you also knew that the Detroit Lions was going to beat the brakes off of whoever they were playing. And teams were crying. I remember DJ Moore being one of the ones, but hey, man, bro, man, the dude with the long hair, he be hitting us on the sideline and stuff. Man, why he be hitting so hard? Like, I was sitting like, bro, you put this on an actual podcast? You put this out there? And that was when it was resonating, when Dan Campbell was going out there, like, I don't care if you have 3 toes and 1 butt cheek, I will beat your. That was during that era. But it's like, are they still that team? Yeah, they got some individual dogs. But I think as it relates to that word that they used to have a monopoly on, as it relates to grit, a little bit of that shine seemed to have come off last year. And I don't know how much of it is injuries, how much of it is, new players, how much of it is these players the DNA, or do they have to go find them? when Carlton Davis was begging to be here, as we talk about really the secondary and what they need to do, because just correct me if I'm wrong, you guys with the safeties, you believe they got to go and bolster that right now with one in free agency, probably something in the draft as well. Yes, no? Just quickly? Yep.
Yeah.
And then with the cornerbacks, what are we doing? Because you see how people feel about TA. You see how we don't know what to even feel about Ennis Rakestraw. When we had Carlton Davis here, we knew that we could depend on it.
We have not seen him.
Dan Campbell walked out the tunnel like, bro, halftime of the Texas game, just whistling. Oh, one of these halftime interviews that all the coaches hate giving. I love this one. I know we ain't play our best, but we're going to get right back to it and just force some turnovers real quick. And then bloop, interception during the interview. And then you could barely get back to the sideline before Carlton Davis again, interception. And then guess what? They allowed themselves to get picked off. My man went on a podcast tour doing everything he could but get on his knees in front of Dan Campbell to talk up Dan Campbell. He was like, I remember the pod. We covered it on Woo Crew. You might have been here too when he was talking about, Dan Campbell is a player's coach. Like, y'all don't understand, dog. He's so different, man. I love the Lions. I want to be there, blah, blah, blah. We were thinking it's a done deal. When he didn't come back, we were like, daggone it. And now where's Carlton Davis? Can somebody tell me where Carlton Davis is this Sunday?
Super Bowl.
Gosh.
Super Bowl.
No. He just skated there, right? On coattails.
No.
He didn't really do nothing this year, right?
No.
Interception.
He
got a free lunch. He got a free ride.
That's what I'm saying, and that's where it's like, you know what? I like the effort of our guys, but the execution wasn't quite there. Like, I'm not going to diss the players because you're going out there and you're putting your life, you're putting your health on the line. I get it. When you see a guy like a Taylor Decker, who we know is a warrior at the end of the season, contemplating the game he loves, the only thing that he knows, because family life versus I've played, I've only done this for my whole life since I was a little boy, so now I have this family, it's at the end of this career. I get that.
Yeah.
I get it, man, but
you know what?
I don't know, dog. I don't know. Like,
let's get into some of how we can fix this secondary. Some players that we want to see brought in to help fix this secondary.
Let's start here.
But
Ennis Rakestraw. Are we waiting on Ennis Rakestraw anymore? Let's cross them off the list. What we got right now? Are we waiting on Ennis Rakestraw anymore?
No, you can't wait on him.
We're not waiting.
But
Terrion Arnold, what is the best that you're giving him? Is he your starter still?
You keeping him? He's still your starter. He showed a lot of promise. He showed a lot of growth. This year he's actually much better. Like, he was one of the premier cornerbacks before he got injured.
You're gonna get the chat on your head, bro. They haven't been feeling him this show.
I mean, we'll get it, but I mean, the reality is reality. He was locking stuff down. Like, he got injured and it kind of took away from it, but it's never, with Terrion, it's never been a thing where he's been out of position or he's gotten burnt real bad, other than on a couple of them. But it's more of he was too grabby.
Up the penalties.
He was too grabby, and he cut that back, and that's where you see the growth at. And that's why you see Terrion. He could be a player on this team. He could be an absolute player on this team, but you just got to stay healthy. But let's read the super chat.
Let me just real quick on TA Willie B, and I got just one thing real quick, and then we'll get into some of these options. You got free agents,
and then we got a super chat.
Super chat too. Dope. Yeah, Willie B here, and then I'm gonna go over to you for that super chat for sure.
I mean, so they got to make some decisions. They got to make decisions on the offseason with we need a corner and a center for the offensive line. So the free agency gonna be pretty tricky if you got the Brad Hose had to make the right decisions. When you go make the right decisions, then how this season go to cost you. Depends of the draft picks or the free agency you're gonna pick. It's gonna determine your next season gonna be like. If you wanna cut the check, get a contender, get a worthy free agency and a couple of draft picks. But Brad trade.
But TA is your starter.
TA definitely is your starter because he shows a lot. He shows a lot of growth, a lot of maturity for a guy to be for a first year guy. So in that case, he only gets better. So in that case, if he gets better, if you want to protect your position, you got to perform, and he shows that. TA shows that he performs better, and now he got his feet wet. It's time for him to grow more in next season, to be more responsible for next assignments for the season coming. So yes, keep him.
Man, I like the growth that TA took, but I'm really, really hoping they can get another guy back in here like a Carlton Davis. I really do. Not to replace, realistically, but to make sure that when you look at these teams in the Super Bowl, when you look at how some of these teams, even that got to the playoffs, got there, it's like, I missed that. Wait, I remember that. We used to do those things. But with TA, that's one where I'm very happy with his growth. I know if we had the legendary Foster in here who used to call him Handsy, he was pleased with the growth of a Terrion Arnold, going from cutting not just the penalties, but being just as sticky as he was, but without getting the contact and things of that nature. I thought that he took the right steps forward.
That's the big part of it, Kool Aid, is he's always been sticky. He's always been right there. He just was a step away from making the play.
Yeah.
And that's partially because, well, you're in man defense, and it's hard to cover crossing routes on man defense. But then also, he was getting the penalty because he was in good coverage, but he got grabby, he got handsy, and as a rookie cornerback, obviously, those things are not going to slide. As a first 2-year cornerback, like those things aren't going to slide. We see some, corners get away with that. Maybe like a Pat Surtain. I know that's his best friend, and they got the podcast together. You can't just grab like your Pat Surtain because you're Terrion Arnold, and you're not going to get away with that. And he's learned that, and he's grown from that, and that's the biggest thing with Terrion is he cut back on the penalties. That's what we wanted from him.
It's interesting here because we know that the defensive line needs a little more, and that would help the safeties. But shout out to our guy Brendan Ladd, one of the interns who was in on Braylon's show this week as well, and he played football, I believe, at the collegiate level, and he was giving some takes as well. I kind of agree with this take. It was one that he was talking about too, as it relates to our linebackers. He says, Gavis in the chat, I personally think our linebackers played bad, excluding Jack C. He said Anzo and Barnes are very bad. Look at the PFF rating. I don't know how much stock other people put in the PFF. I don't put a whole lot. I allow it to be some edge, but you can
use it as a tool, but don't let it be your end all be all.
Would help the secondary as well, and that's where when I do look at everything in front of those safeties in that secondary, and top of the fact that they basically got banged up, it was basically a catastrophic failure across the board. And people right now are not too happy about Hutch. It's like, I'm looking at all three layers. I want to focus on the secondary.
I see it.
And it's pretty wild right now with all the different holes that are starting to spring.
Let me address the Hutch hate real quick. All right, let me address it, okay?
Okay, what's up?
Hutch coming off a devastating leg injury.
That's true.
This is something that we've seen people not come back from. He comes back from that and has a 14.5 sack season. Right? That's what he had, right? 14. Yeah. All right. So still among the top leaders in sacks. Not only does he do that, but he's also one of the best rush defenders from the edge position in the league. So you see this Hutch hate, and it's like,
you seen it also, right? They on Hutch's head right
They're not doing and let me tell you something.
After safeties,
let me tell you something.
Cornerbacks, after linebackers.
Let me tell you something, Kool Aid. The defensive scheme is not helping Hutch at all.
Exactly. Or the players that
the defensive scheme is not helping Hutch at all.
Not at all.
I seen Hutch on a wide 9. Why is he wide?
With no coverage in the back. The whole top was blown.
He's wide, and he has do you see how far he has to get to the quarterback? And then what do teams do if he's that wide? They're automatically going to slide the quarterback the other way. So now he's working double time to try to get to the quarterback, especially when there's not a true threat on the opposite side of him. There's no one that they fear. Like, teams are just sliding away from him. Now, what you need to do is you need to move Hutch around. Use him as a weapon. He is big enough to where he can play every single position on this defensive line. And he should be pass rushing from every single position on this defensive line. You have to create stunts. You have to create different looks to throw defenses off. If he's just going to sit out there and rush the passer on a wide 9, and he's never going to get there. He's never going to get there.
I'm hoping from a coaching standpoint.
And that's where Shep has to develop.
Some more people in to assist and allow Kelvin Shepard as the overall defensive coordinator architect to go back to some of those things. Because what did you just describe? all of the things that we heard when they were beating the brakes off the Minnesota Vikings to win the division. What was the broadcast saying in that game? They've been having a difficult time getting pressure all season with the injuries, but we know that in this game in particular, Kelvin Shepherd has specifically been involved with the game plan, and he's been the one reason why they're getting this pressure on the quarterbacks coming from the middle part of the defense there, i.e. the linebackers. And they diagrammed it, and they tipped the cap to them, and they put the camera on them, and we recorded it, and we posted it on socials, and it blew up. And then you go another year, and it's like, where is it at, though? Like, that to me was the tough part. It's like, even when you're getting bludgeoned, I'm like, where is it at, though?
Exactly.
Change something. Do something. That's where I'm hoping going into next year. And I know some people in the chat, they're wondering about Petzing, they're wondering about Kafka. And last week's episode, we went deep into there. And if we have time at the end of this one, maybe we'll get back into that, doing like a mailbag. But this is a situation where I believe that offensive room, they're starting to beef up a little bit. They still have some names in that room. And Hank Freddie is a guy who I'm not going to doubt just because his first-year responsibilities didn't really pan out the way we would have liked. But on the defensive side is where I believe they lost a whole lot more than people actually realized. And some of the replacements they brought in, they did not meet the bar. So now the Lions are in a position where you need Dan Campbell to not have to be as involved in the offense so he can help a Kelvin Shepherd, and maybe Kelvin Shepherd can focus doing game planning on those stunts and such.
Real quick, Kool Aid. Why are we comparing Aiden Hutchinson to Myles Garrett?
That's a good question.
Why are we comparing Aiden Hutchinson to Myles Garrett? Myles Garrett is
Defense Player of the Year.
One of the most, like, when you look at top 5 of most elite defenders of, like, especially on the defensive line, like, he's there ever. Like,
yeah,
he's right up there amongst Aaron Donald. Why are we comparing Aiden Hutchinson to Myles Garrett? Myles Garrett is an absolute freak of nature. Yeah. Like, come on. Man. Like, what are we doing? Stop comparing.
Look, it's the old adage of there's always going to be somebody that's better than us, and that's where with Hutch, we know exactly who he is and what he is. He's good enough. Now, as it relates to
he's
Jared
one of the
Goff,
best edge rushers in the league.
Yeah.
It's period. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else to talk about.
You do have to build around him, or else you're going to be wasting the fact that you have him, i.e. look at the Browns.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter if he went out there and got you 30 sacks or if he went out there and got you the sacks he got this year. If they don't do something reputable within this defense, it's not going to matter. Imagine them getting home, but because the secondary, we're not just talking about the safeties. This whole secondary, at least we came into last year with what we thought were answers. What are they doing right now? Like the entire secondary. And think about this. What is the thing that we can depend on the most going into next year as it relates to our secondary question? Is Terrion literally the least question mark out of the entire secondary for the Lions? That's insane. Is he literally the least question mark? Because Kerby and Brian Branch now become big question marks because of the injuries. We don't know what's happening in free agency or the draft. Now Terrion Arnold is the most dependable thing that we have going into next year from the secondary, while we're talking about trying to not just win a Super Bowl, not just get back to the playoffs, but trying to win our NFC North division.
And real quick, before we move on to how we're going to fix this secondary, we're yelling at Aiden Hutchinson. We're hating on Aiden Hutchinson right now for putting up 14.5 sack season, especially, for what it is. He got paid, and yeah, he is getting paid as one of the top defenders in the league. But Max Crosby, right? Everyone loves Max Crosby. I haven't seen not one person say anything bad about Max.
Well, alumni for Eastern Michigan.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Aiden Hutchinson, is he not alumni from Michigan? Did he not grow up and play at Divine Child? Like, I'm just asking a question. Because they basically have pretty much the same stats. The most sacks that Max Crosby has had in the season is 14.5. Aiden Hutchinson just did that. But Aiden Hutchinson is not elite. Max is. I don't understand it. We gotta stop.
I heard somebody say
you gotta stop hating on Hutch. You gotta stop hating on Hutch.
No, I heard this because one of them said
gets to a point.
No, for real, bro. I heard somebody say this. One of them is a bro and the other one's a bruh. And that's why they want Max Crosby here. But when you look at Max, people out there believe that he might be in a position to use the Lions again to get the bag, which is what he did the first time. What up, dog? El Jefre? I see you over there, man. What up, dog?
What
Dark Cash 5520.
What now?
Hutch is 2 steps below Hendrickson.
What?
Listen.
Seriously?
You look at Trey Henderson. That's the only thing that dude does is get sacks. There's a reason why he was a sack leader. Because that's the only thing he does. When you look at his rush defense, it's non-existent. That's why the Cincinnati Bengals have never had a good defense with him. He's been there for years. He has never been a game changer on their defense. And that's primarily because teams will run it down their throat.
Can you imagine if they were Raiders fans?
Like, come on, what are we talking about? We're talking about a one-dimensional guy here. For what it is, he's a great pass rusher. I'll give it to him. That's what he does. That's his specialty. But Hutch does not do that. Hutch contributes in both pass and rush defense. Stop comparing. What are we talking about?
With you. I will level with you. Or can you level with this? That he did take, and even if it's due to the injury, some aspects of steps back that we believe he can get to.
But what do we know, Kool Aid? When you come off an injury like that, it's going to take you a year to get back to 100%, feeling 100%.
That is medically back.
So if he's doing that, his first year back off of a devastating leg injury where he had 14.5 sacks and the rest of his defense completely sucks.
So you like the trajectory
besides
of the
Jack
potential.
Campbell? I mean, like, come on. Like, what are we talking about? We're hating on this guy. There's no secondary back there. For the most part of the whole season, it was either Brian Branch was out or Kerby was out. It was like, come on, it's in disarray, the whole defense. But now let's get into how we're going to fix the secondary
the
around.
The line just took over the chat again. That's why I'm glad we at least parted the clouds to give a little bit of a sunshine to the secondary. But it's interesting because, chat family, y'all let me know what you guys think right now is the biggest issue on this Detroit Lions defense. Because we're looking at a secondary room who, if you would have told me a year ago, our most dependable player just before the offseason on Super Bowl Sunday is going to be Terrion Arnold in that secondary, I'd be like, wait, our window is – I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
But you know
it's crazy. But now, but what have we cried about the entire Brad Holmes era? The entire era. Shout out to my bald brother in chief, Brad Holmes.
Get another guy. Rush. Get another guy. And they still do. Yes. They still do. They still have to get another guy. It's not changing. But that's how we see. You think that over?
Which one takes the cake? Which one's tilting the scales for you? The edge or that secondary?
If it's first round and you have an elite edge rusher there, you have to take it.
Got to get him.
You have to take it.
Got to get him.
Listen, the problem with this team right now is that they have so many holes they have to fix because they just sat on a window that was wide open. They did not get players in there that would impact the game of football for them now. And now you see where some of these guys have developed. Your Broderick Martin out. Levi Enrique, he has barely ever played. He's dealt with nothing but injuries. Josh Pascal, I love the dude as a person, but he has not played. These are the injuries.
But if you got a Hutch already, don't you got to put some type of star back in that secondary?
You can, but what do we see work for the Houston Texans?
All right, talk to me.
They have a safety and an elite cornerback, and they have also drafted other cornerbacks to go around him. But they have 2 elite edge rushers that are feared, and that's where it starts. So if it's first round, I want them to go edge rusher and get somebody that can come in under a great contract because he's going to be a rookie.
I do got to push back just
because
a
you
little
do are paying Aiden Hutchinson that.
And I get it. In a draft, I get it. If you can get one of those elite pass rushers at the top, you definitely go ahead and you get that at the position the Lions are going to be drafting at. But that's where it's just like, goodness gracious, man, in terms of the highest priority for me.
Yeah, then you got left tackle.
If Hutch was as good.
You got left tackle, you got center, you got...
But if Hutch was as good, and this is just between, like, that defensive line and the safeties, that's where I'm like, okay, if I got a dog on that defensive line already, maybe I can take some chances to try and really beef up the secondary, which I don't know if they have a dog yet.
But you know what, Kool Aid, they don't need to have, spend first round draft capital on a safety. Most of that the safeties that you're gonna want at that first round spot when you get up to pick, they're not gonna be there. Yep. Your Caleb Downs is gone.
Yep.
He is gone.
So
he is not gonna be there. The Lions did not do them any favors by winning that last game. If we're gonna be honest, they moved back several spots in the draft, which we know is absolutely crucial. So they didn't do themselves any favor wanting to draft someone like Caleb Downs or any of these other guys that are going to be up there, like Mansour Delane at a corner. These guys are going to be gone already.
This is insane to me just to look in the chat, because there was a time where you saw people complain about Hutch because he had too many pressures, not enough sacks. And it's interesting in a year where the NFL is honoring Hutch, or at least looking at him as one of your better pass rushers in the league, that the Detroit fans in the chat here, they all believe not only has he lost a step, but there are people in this chat who believe that his best days are behind him. Okay. That is surprising me. Bro, let's get that chat let's get that poll in the chat. We gotta see it. We gotta see it. Now, y'all, thank y'all for being here as well. We got another about 30 minutes left in the show. If you could, go ahead and smash that like button if you haven't gotten the opportunity to do so, man. Rocking out today with Crash Out Willie B and Hefray.
Listen.
In the TD booth.
And
Shout out to our brother Matthew Broder as well. Reason why he's not here is because baby
yes, sir.
Broder has arrived. So smash the like button
Golf
for baby Broder, for mama, for the whole family over there, man. God bless you guys for real. What up, though, brother?
Chat, I want y'all to start putting some names. It's time. We're going to go through the secondary. We're going to look at some of the prospects that are out there. We're going to look at some of the free agents that are out there. But I want y'all to go ahead and drop some names that maybe you like, or maybe that you think the Lions should bring in this offseason. So go ahead and drop some. We're going to be reading them out of chat.
Look, I believe that priority, obviously in terms of which one you need to add a dog to, I believe it's the safeties. I believe it's the secondary. But in terms of going into the draft, I do prioritize the trenches early in that draft. I really do, especially before the Lions are going to be at. But El Jefre, talk to me here, brother. When you're talking about the draft strategy, man, how's it looking for you?
For me,
how are you fixing this thing? Because this is all that relates to Super Bowl. We're on Super Bowl Sunday, big game Sunday between the Seahawks and the Patriots, and we're seeing two teams that are there whom I almost feel like, dog, if the Lions could have just tripped and fell and stumbled into the playoffs, they would have given themselves a chance. Now, Seahawks defense is nasty, dog. Nasty AF. What did Jimmy Bickerstaff call them? Nasty boys? As it relates to his bench crew. That's the Seahawks, man. How are we getting our boys there?
Let me tell you how. All right, so for this Detroit Lions defense, when I look at when they were their best, Brian Britch had the ability to roam the field. He was in the nickel, and he was also in that kind of like that star position where he was able to kind of roam the field and create plays and all over the field. And we see the Seahawks doing the same thing. They have Amon-Ra doing the same thing. They had Witherspoon doing that. That's the type of defense I want to see the Lions get back to, because that was their most that was when they were at their most successful. So to do that, the Lions need to draft a safety. They need to draft a safety.
So you're going edge, then safety?
Or you can do a hybrid of a safety and a corner if there's one out there. But when we look at, you brought up a good point, Kool Aid. When we look at the linebacker position, needs to be good as well for this Lions team. I think the Lions' days of 3 linebackers out there at the same time, I think that's over. We got to get out of that. All right, you got to start playing a little bit more nickel, because that's what's going to allow you to match up with these elite offenses around the league. And you can do that by drafting a safety that can play linebacker as well. So you need a physical safety. Yeah. Someone that is not going to be afraid to lower the boom. And that's where I think the Lions...
That nasty
exactly.
Back.
That's
that
where I think that the Lions are going to see growth and see a benefit into how, this team operates defensively. And that's where I see more turnovers. I see a lot more chaos being created in terms of, you're going to see Hutch get to the quarterback more. You're going to see these other guys get to the quarterback more, because the fact that it's absolute chaos in the secondary, because you have a safety who can cover these tight ends, these elite tight ends coming out of the other offenses. And that's what's going to be key for this Lions. So when I look at it, I'm going to see some prospects and drop some prospects that I think the Lions should be looking to grab in the draft, whether it's second to third.
Hold on.
I'm really looking at second to third round. Second to third round is where I'm kind of looking for them to do damage in terms of getting a safety or getting a corner into the building. But go ahead, Kool Aid.
Man, I'm sitting here right now looking at shout out to our guy Randall Smalls. I see him there with the $5 super chat. Says, God bless baby Broder and family. Definitely do. Yes, and Randall sent in a couple mock drafts, and I was like, you know what, this is the perfect time. Now, he feels completely different than us. All right?
All right. Let me hear it.
Round 1, pick 17. Who do you think he's picking? Do you think he's going offense or defense?
I'll say he went offense.
What position group? Yep. Spencer Fano of Utah. And then he doubles down with the second pick, and he goes with another tackle, Jennings Dunker out of Iowa.
Little light in the ass.
And then he goes with a tight end, Josh Cuevas from
ass.
Alabama, and then a center. So he goes with an edge from Iowa, Max in round 5. And that is the only defensive player he selects. He does have the Lions getting Diego Pavia in round 6 as well.
Okay.
Look, I see the vision as it relates to.
Let me talk to you.
You want the offensive line. I get that. Beef this thing up in the trenches, but he got an A- on this draft here. What are you giving it? From PFF, what are you giving it?
I'll tell you what, the Diego Pavia thing that just threw me way off.
I ain't
gonna lie to you.
Giving it?
I like Jennings Dunker. I do. Spencer Fano, I think, is a little bit too light in the ass. He's a little bit too light in the ass. He gonna get.
You need a little bit more BBL on that.
You gotta get a little bit more beefed up than that.
Cheeks.
You know what I mean?
Some more cheeks.
More cheeks.
When I look at Penei Sewell and I see Spencer Fano on the opposite side of him, you know what I see? I just see a gigantic grizzly bear, and then I see a puppy on the other side. The little baby
bear?
I see a puppy on the other side. I don't like it. I'd like Jennings Dunker more than Spencer Fano, honestly.
But he did say this. He's going with defense and free agency, and that's honestly, if this was a year ago, I would have been more okay with that. But after seeing how this kind of went, it's like, all right, how much do we expect Tate Ratledge to take the jump in year 2?
I don't know.
And I will say this:
that too.
a lot of the elite, as they're calling the elite, left tackles that are or right tackles that are out there, majority of those in every mock draft, they have been gone by pick 17. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, they have been gone. If you look at the expert analysis of all these mock drafts, a lot of these teams are looking to take tackles within the first 16 picks. And that doesn't do anything well for the Lions because of the fact that they did win that last game against Chicago, and they moved back 4 or 5 slots, I believe.
17 pick?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
and there's some options some people put in the chat. If you don't mind reading off some of what the chat's putting in.
Yep, a lot of these elite tackles that are out there that we have been kind of pushing for. A lot of those guys are going to be gone according to a lot of these mock drafts.
Pretty much.
But let me talk to you about some of these prospects that I feel the Lions should bring in, and then I'll read some from the chat as well.
Dope.
So, when I look at a safety position, I want the Lions to get someone that is physical. I want to get someone that has length and has ball skills. Has ball skills, all right? So, there's a kid from Toledo, which, hey, Toledo has produced some pretty good defensive backs as of recently.
They do.
Given the fact that we all wanted Quinyon Mitchell when he was coming out of the draft. But Emmanuel McNeil Warren, when I look at his tape, what I see is physical. Obviously, there's things that needs to be cleaned up with his tape, but he's physical, and he also has length, and he also has elite ball skills. He almost reminds me of Kerby Joseph a lot and what he does on the football field because he's rangy and he creates chaos.
Stop getting me excited, bro.
I'm just telling you what I see.
I mean, because we missed that last year. That's what I'm saying. Like when we look at the character and identity of this Detroit Lions team, when you talk about that physicality coming from the secondary, I think that's what they were aiming for with how they put this team together. We know Brian Branch, heavy hitter. Even when they had Ife Melifonwu, what do we know about him? Heavy hitter. I wish they didn't let him go, but that's a whole other story. And we understand what Kerby Joseph was out there doing. He had a reputation, didn't he, that preceded him. People were crying. The league said he wasn't dirty, even though the league said, he's hitting us too hard. And so I feel like some of that's missing. Obviously, when you miss those players due to injuries or whatever reason, even like a Carlton Davis. I thought Carlton Davis was another one of those heavy hitters. He was savvy with the picks. He was another one of those heavy hitters. We lost a lot of those guys.
Yeah, and that's something you need to bring back. When I look at this team, I see a little bit too you know what? They're too light in the ass. A lot of these secondary is too light in the ass. It's like I almost want to say you got to be almost like
Sharp.
You almost got to be.
They're saying that Spencer Fano is the only day one starter on this in the draft for the offensive line.
Yeah,
though.
6'5",
That's what the chat's
pounds.
saying. I see Attila in the chat and some others.
He's not. He's a good prospect, but in terms of where you're at 17, not only is he not going to be there, but he does have to put on some weight and put on some strength, and that's a part of like the development that he'll go through. But as far as him being available at 17, I don't think that's the case. A lot of these elite, I think the only player that I've seen fall to the Lions range around 17 has been Caden Proctor, who I think is better off as a guard in this league, not a tackle, which kind of doesn't fit what the Lions need right now in terms of what they need is a tackle.
Man, so you know what? Because I'm just sitting here right now thinking, as it relates to the strategy, I'm kind of with Randall. And Randall, I see you in the chat. If you have some of your later mock drafts, and if any of you guys have mock drafts, send them to me. Kool Aid at woodwardsports.com. Kool Aid at woodwardsports.com. Yeah. Also include your free agent choices. I'm going to go back to you in a little bit to be able to talk about what you see in the chat here, because I saw Attila, I think a little bit earlier, right underneath LeBartney's super chat, put in a whole lot of options, and then down from there you see other people putting in their options too.
I do.
They're
Let me
hoping
see.
Detroit Lions go, whether it's free agency, whether it's draft. Make sure you specify too. But for me, I am a little bit on the train of you gotta at least, I think, if you see a safety in that draft that you believe is that physical heavy hitter, I think you take him. You want those guys, especially if it's not from the cornerback position where you probably need them to have a whole lot better coverage skills. Like with what I like with TA, he can effectively run the route for the wide receivers.
Yeah.
But with my safeties, I want them to be guys who can go out there and make a play. I want them to be guys that can go out there and ball hawk. And like you said, a lot of the stuff that we've seen out of Kerby Joseph, he's a difference maker. I try to caution myself, though, because Kerby Joseph was one of those ones. You don't always go in and get one of those ones, and that's where you're going to have a balance between who your players are and what your scheme is to put these guys in their best possible position to succeed, man. Seriously.
But you got to get ball players, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this team to get ball players. When I look at McNeil Warren, he's a ball player. He loves playing ball. He loves when you look at a player on the football field and they love being physical, you know they love ball. Because he loves to lay down the hit. He loves to, absolutely just try to, wreck whoever the receiver is or the running back. He'll come up and make the tackle with, authority. Now, I'm looking at what Attila put in the chat. So Dylan Thieneman, I believe is how his name is pronounced. That would be a great option too. I feel like he's really smart in terms of how he plays the safety position. He's crafty and he's really smart. He almost reminds me of almost like a Reed Blankenship type player who has been a really good player around the league for quite a while now in terms of being always ready to step in and play the game of football and gets it done. That's what kind of reminds me of. And then A.J. Halsey, who I think is another great safety from, this LSU team, for what it's worth, they got some ball players over there. Mansour Delane is a corner that I like, but he's going to be gone by the time the Lions pick at 17, and nor do I want them to pick a cornerback in the first round at 17. But A.J. Halsey is another good option out of LSU as a safety. 6 foot, but he is built almost... You can really look at him and say he's really like a linebacker because he looks like a linebacker. Like you would look at him next to Michael Rodriguez and you wouldn't be able to tell that. Like you would be like, dang, like these two look like the exact same. And he knows how to play elite ball skills as well in terms of creating turnovers. And that's what kind of fits what the Lions need is someone that can tackle, but also and is not afraid to tackle, but also can be good in coverage. And then Genesis Smith, who I think is another good safety coming from, I believe it's Arizona. He is another good safety, 6'2". So more on that bigger side is where I want the Lions to kind of attack, because I look at this Lions secondary and I say 5'9", 5'9", 5'9", a little bit too many of the 5'9" guys. I think Terrion's our biggest corner that has actually played, and he's 6 foot. So, I mean, they got to get some more length, and they got to get a little bit more physical on this Lions defense in that secondary, and that's where I see them trying to attack.
Yeah, man, this is going to be an interesting one, man, and I can't wait till, gosh, part of me feels like I wish these things could go for 2, 3, 4 hour shows sometimes, man, so we could really get into this. And get some of these mock drafts. On the next show, I want to go and actually do some mock drafts with the people here. We can go through different scenarios, see who falls to the Detroit. I see over there Crash Out Willie B. So next show, we can definitely do that, man. I want to be able to go through this and be able to have some time to really digest this week as well, what's out there, see what that exact strategy is. So I need everybody to come with their strategies for next week. You got me? I need everybody, because I see the time. I'm like, golly, dog, where did the time go? Our hour and a half is almost up.
Gotta love Rando.
Hey, let's get to some of these super chats. You can start with some Rando love, man. I love Rando.
Rando in the chat, he said, finding a way to draft Trinidad Chambliss. Listen, man, I actually went to school with Trinidad Chambliss at Ferris State. I was able to cover him when he was a freshman, a sophomore. When he was just kind of just like thrown into the action to be kind of like just a runner on the team, really. I wouldn't mind the Lions getting him, if in like the way later rounds, but like they need a lot more positions to fill than getting a quarterback in these early rounds. Like if they're gonna go with a backup quarterback route, like it has to be like round 6 and 7.
Round 6 or 7, yeah, 6.
Because they just have so many other holes to fill that like the backup quarterback spot isn't really like. Like you could just go get one of those guys in the free agency, and I'd rather not spend draft capital on getting one. Yeah, but Rando, I do love Trinidad Chambliss.
Hey, look, so our homework this week, we got to come back with answers to this secondary by next week. So we talk about it this week. We recognize how big an issue it is. Let's come back next week with some more solid names. Like I want to see how it looks for you, because you did drop some heat today. El Jefre, but I'm going to come back with some of my names. I'm going to hit up Stick and see if even Broder, even if not on the show, can send in what his plan is to fix the Detroit Lions secondary. And chat family, if you want to be able to participate too, go on ahead and send that. Let me see. Attila Kool Aid email to send. I have a spreadsheet. Oh, snap.
And then,
man. Hey, it's Kool Aid at woodwardsports.com. We got to fix the secondary. So if you got mock drafts, if you have your free agency, approach,
we'll do a mock draft,
or mock draft secondaries, Sunday. Or all the above, send it to me, man, so we can continue to break this stuff down on the show.
We'll do a mock draft Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Next week, because that's after it. After the Super Bowl's done,
yeah,
we had plans. I think that's why mock draft season has been so delayed here this year. Before the Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell era, and Sheila took over. We knew that mock draft season started as soon as maybe week, sometimes 10, week 11. We were like, oh, you know what? We're going to get somebody next year to help us. And now we're in a situation to where mock draft season is a little bit different. If you're for a Super Bowl, realistically, these picks need to be either how you're going to extend your Super Bowl window or those guys that you can kind of plug and play. There's going to be 1 or 2 guys every draft that this guy is going to prove himself to be a starter this year. Beyond that, though, I'm really hoping the strategy is a whole lot more of what we saw last year. This team had more pros on it, and guess what? They were able to overcome a whole lot of injuries. You fast forward a season, you lose some of those pros, this team takes some steps back. Now, Elaine McNeil coming back from major injury. Aiden Hutchinson coming back from major injury. It's going to be interesting to see what they do after the second year. But what used to be a weapon, what used to be unquestionably probably we would say what were our top 3 units on the team. There were times when that safety unit was popping up there as one of those top units. And we knew that there was a time that both Brian Branch and Kerby Joseph were considered both top 5 safeties in the league, top 3 safety room in the league. Now all of a sudden, this is quickly under fire and under question. We got to fix it by next week.
The top safety duo.
The top one. That's what I'm saying. So look, This was great conversation, great dialogue, man. If you guys haven't gotten an opportunity to smash that like button yet, go ahead and hit that like button for First to the Whistle.
Hit
for our
it.
guy Broder, man. Shout out to Broder.
Let me clean up the super chats
Mama,
real quick.
all of
and
that.
then
Yeah,
we'll
we're going
do
to get those
that.
super chats before we shut down. But
Yep.
make sure these people know. Get any questions in that you can, emails that you can, and smash that like button. Yeah, let's definitely wrap up those super chats, so brother.
Yep. All right. From Labertini, he sent the $5 super chat. Shout out Broder, congrats. Now when and where is Nick running his 40?
Well, call off at a bet.
Listen, if you want to know when Nick is gonna be running this 40, go ahead and message him on Instagram. Go ahead and hit his DMs and ask him when is he gonna be running that 40. It's Nick_Koloff. Go hit him up and he'll tell you when he's running the 40. And then from Rando Smalls, $5 super chat. As a coach, you are only as good as your players, and to play means you have to have confidence in them. Yeah, I mean,
to a degree, I agree.
You have to have confidence in your players that they're going to go out there and perform.
Yeah.
But as a coach, you have to be able to scheme ways for your team, your defense, your offense to still operate even when injuries happen. And that's what good coaches do. We see Kyle Shanahan doing that right now. He had, I mean, this 49ers team had just as many injuries as the Lions. They had Nick Bosa out. They had Fred Warner out. Like, those are two cornerstone pieces of their defense, and yet they still made the playoffs. Brock Purdy was out for a while. Like, they have no receiving core, yet they still made the playoffs. Good coaches find a way to overcome their players' deficits, and that's something that this Lions team is going to have to figure out how to do, especially if injuries continue to be a part of, you know, this scheme for the Lions, or this theme for the Lions.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, man, this was fun. Shout out to the fellas as well. It's
Absolutely.
cold, but this is Michigan. This is what we do, man.
Yeah.
We talking about that grit, this network. I told
And
the
we got-
people, like, we literally, they thank us for what we do. I'm like, guys, we rush to these cameras, to these microphones, to our posts because of you guys. That's what we're doing this for. And so when I tell you guys are really the most important part of Woodward Sports, I promise you I'm not lying. And this was a great conversation, man. The people were active in the chat this morning. Smash that like button so you can let the people know who had the best chat, man, this week, man.
Yeah. And then Randall Smalls with another $5 super chat. God bless baby Broder and family.
You know,
and
that's probably the most perfect way to end the show too.
We got one more.
Oh, that's right.
And then Labertini, like I said, man, you're just gonna have to hit up Nick Koloff. You're gonna have to figure out with him when he's running. His schedule's pretty crazy. You got to figure out with him when he's running that 40. He sent a $5 super chat. More important when it's Nick running his 40. So Labertini, you really want to see Nick run his 40? You got to hit him up.
Shout out, man. But hey, look, chat family, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Before we go, we got to get to those Super Bowl picks, all right? Crash Out Willie, I'm going to you first, man. Who's winning? In chat, put your picks, your Super Bowl picks in the chat before we close up.
Super Bowl without Belichick and Tom Brady I got
the Patriots getting it done.
It's going to be 14 to 17.
Ooh. The defense takes over.
Defense. It's going to be a low-score game like the Spurs and the Nets back at 05. Low-score days is they're both of the top defense in the conference.
Oh, Spurs and Pistons?
Yeah, Spurs and Pistons. Yeah, low-score game. That too. So in that case, it will be a low-scoring game because both defenses, one of the top defenses. Who gonna go off on offense? That's the question.
Dang, that's true. What about you, El Jefe? You see a little bit different?
I'm full Seahawks right now. Go Seahawks, go Hawks. I don't want the Patriots to win another one. If they do, that's all I gotta hear for another whole entire season is the Patriots won a Super Bowl again. I'm good. I'm good. I'm rooting for the Seahawks. I feel like the Seahawks get it done. I'm gonna go with a little bit higher score than Willie. I'm gonna go with a score of 21-18.
Fair enough.
So I'm the only one that's
game-winning field goal misses.
Higher. I'm going 24-17 Seahawks. 24-17 Seahawks. And I do believe that the 17 is going to be like a field goal or something. Not late, but kind of like early in the fourth quarter to pull them within, or midway through the fourth quarter to pull them within 7, but they're just not going to be able to get it done, and the Seahawks are going to win the game.
And you know what else? Kenneth Walker to get his might as well go ahead and get a ring. You hear? Might as well go ahead and get a ring. Shout out to Spenny. Kenneth Walker, that's my cousin. Shout out to Spenny and Nick.
Shout out to K. Walker.
I'll be make sure I send him this. But yeah, I want K9 to win his Super Bowl, so I'm gonna go with the Seahawks for that reason as well.
Hey, shout out, man. I'm seeing some of the answers. Some people in the chat as well. Let me see here. Randall Smalls, he has Seattle Seahawks 28, Patriots 20. He got K9 as the MVP. Steve-O, baby, give me the Seahawks 54-14. He got them beating the brakes off.
Yeah.
I would have to assume that's what a couple of pick sixes and maybe a safety as well, because Sam Darnold putting a 54 in a Super Bowl. Dog, launch Jared Goff to the moon. Let's see here. Art Vanderlei, 28-24 Seahawks. Dark Cash, I see you. He says 28-20 Sea Hags. I think that I like that name a lot. Sea Hags, Sea Bags, Sea Chickens.
Hey, listen. You know what, chat? I love y'all, man. Y'all all is rooting for the Seahawks, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's go.
I'm leaning towards the Seahawks, but because of our brother Braylon Edwards of the Braylon Edwards Show, shameless plug, tap in every Monday through Friday 2 to 4. He did play for the Seahawks at one point in time. So shout out to Braylon, and I'm not going to say go Seahawks, but beat the Patriots, I guess. Let's rock 24-17. You guys, it's been First to the Whistle. Go ahead and smash that like button. It's your boy Brandon, a.k.a. Detroit Kool Aid. I see a couple more scores in here. Greg, 13-10 Seahawks. Hey, I got to read this one, all right? GAMG Channel 55, 24-20 Sea Chickens. Let's rock. Yeah. Have a day, y'all.